Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. Let me turn that glare down. Sorry about that. This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com, MikeKolllin.com. And remember, click subscribe. I really appreciate that. Today, I'm going to show you a book that changed my life. It changed my life with the learnings of the last two videos. The willingness, the person or entity that has the willingness to walk away from a deal has the power. Okay. There's a couple more things I said in those videos, but that's one of the main ones. The other one is this book, When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. It's kind of beat up. I've read it about 4 times, maybe 3 times, 3 times for sure, by Manuel J. Smith, PhD. I highly recommend that you read this book. Just reading the book alone, even one time, will start to click with you. Now, I'm going to give you the gist of the book and a huge teaching in my course. There's a number one core piece that I teach in my course, and it has to do with an artery that he talks about in this book. So let's see if I'm on the page. No, that's not the page. It's about okay. So I'm going to give you the gist of the book, and I do recommend reading it all the way through at least once. It will give you some tools. Here's the gist of the book. Every year he would take some students, and I guess they were doing, I think you call it the Peace Corps, okay? Where you go to like another third world country and you dig wells and you make water thing that, goes a long ways so you can give people fresh water, you could feed, then they build like little homes, little things they can live in, and they might even plant crops and teach people how you do the irrigation system and how you get the water there, et cetera, et cetera. So they build things and they do things for people, and they teach people how to do this stuff for themselves to have a better life. Okay, it's called the Peace Corps, and apparently I didn't do it. You can do it for a year. Usually, I think people do it after high school before they go to college. So it's a wonderful thing. And here's what he says, Dr. Smith. He said they would all show up really excited, looking forward to doing it. And he goes, and for the first week or two, or maybe I think it was 2 or 3 weeks, I'm not going to be exact because I haven't read this book in I read this book about 20 plus years ago. Okay, big thing. And but you're going to get the gist of the story. So if I'm off on the dates and the amount of time, I'm trying to give you an idea. So he would say basically in the beginning, they would show up really excited. And they would work hard, and they do all this stuff, and they build, and they were happy interacting with people. But he goes, I noticed, and I'm going to make this one up because I don't remember how long he said, but I think if I remember, it was about 3 weeks or so. He goes, they would start to get really depressed, and they would shut down, and they would get to the point to where they didn't even want to get out of bed. And he's talking about the students that were in the beginning excited, and he goes, I couldn't figure out what it was, but it was a very consistent thing. And so he said, I had to figure out what it was that was shutting them down. And what it turned out what it was is they weren't very good at saying no. Now again, these are social skills, right? And he said it affected them so powerfully psychologically that some of them would have anxiety issues. They would go into deep depressions, and they would just completely shut down, and they wouldn't work, and they wouldn't go out, and they wouldn't. And here's what he said. He goes, in the beginning, the native people, or whatever you call them, he said they would come up and ask for nails or hammers, or can we have more water, or can we have this or that? And he goes, and the students are like, yeah, sure. And then I came like, whoa, we can't just be handing all this stuff out. We've got projects that we need these materials for. And so the students would just, in the beginning, would just give stuff out. It's like, hey, we can't do that. This has to be done in an organized fashion. And so he noticed that the students couldn't say no, or they weren't comfortable saying no, and to the point to where it literally shut them down. Now here's what happens, and I might read it. It's right here. It's kind of long, but basically what happens is, let me read from here. It's on page 13, at least, of this book. This is, again, it's a long time ago. He said, while our neurophysiological coping mechanism of anger, aggression, fear, flight, and depression withdrawal are not in themselves signs of sickness and maladaptive coping, they just aren't of much use to us. Okay, so now we're talking about the reptilian brain, and the reptilian brain will just shut down. It'll go into fight or flight, anger, aggression, or depression. Okay, these are coping mechanisms that smaller brain uses. But we have a larger human brain, the left and the right brain, that can be much more powerful, much more useful. So he says, okay, I'm going to start again. While our neurophysiologic coping mechanisms of anger, aggression, fear, flight, and depression withdrawal are not in themselves signs of sickness and maladaptive coping, they just aren't of much use to us. Let's talk about the modern humans. They seldom work. They rarely even help. Most of our conflicts and problems come from other people, and in dealing with other people, our primitive responses are insignificant in comparison with our uniquely human coping ability of verbal, assertive problem solving. Now, this is what I've been teaching for 25 years. Social skills, communication skills, relationship skills, how to understand and communicate better with people. Now, a lot of empaths, you have to learn and develop these things, okay? So he goes on to say anger, fight, and fear, flight, which is the lower brain, the reptilian brain, however, actually interfere with this verbal coping ability. We're talking about the right brain, the social brain, that gets shut down, and now we revert back to this lower reptilian brain, right? When you become angry or afraid, your primitive lower brain centers shut down. Hold on, your primitive lower brain centers shut down much of the operation of your new human brain. That's the left and the right brain, the larger hemispheres, the larger brains, the human brains. So the lower brain shuts them down. Now watch this. And what it does, operation of your human brain, the blood supply is automatically, sorry, I've got a lot of writing in this. The blood supply is automatically rerouted away from the brain and the gut to your skeletal muscles to prepare them for physical action. The fight or flight, okay? So here's what happens. This is the number one core thing I teach in all of my courses, especially to men. The lower reptilian brain controls an artery. It's a very important artery. When you get depressed or fight or flight or anger or aggression, that artery will narrow and shut almost all the way down because now it takes all the blood from your brain and it puts it in your muscles, and it takes all the blood from your intestines, which carries the most blood of your whole body, including your thighs. And it puts that blood into your muscles. Have you ever worked out in about 30, 40 minutes? Your muscles were bigger and your veins were popping, and you look at your gut, it's like you lost 5 pounds. You're like, what's going on? Well, at least 5 pounds or more of blood went into your muscles. That's why suddenly you start to look different, okay? So, excuse me. So here's the problem. When that artery narrows, you can't think clearly. In fact, you're not thinking. You're in the reptilian brain, which is instinctual. It's fight or flight, kill or be killed. There's no thinking. It's pre-programmed instinctual things that you automatically do without thinking at all. And that, my friends, is what the narcissist is trying to do to you. They're trying to put you in a panic state. They're trying to give you fear, anxiety, confusion will shut that artery down. All those fear, anxiety, confusion, doubt, right? All the tactics that a narcissist is doing, they shut down that artery. And now you can't see what's really going on. Because when you're a reptilian brain, literally, as I've said in many videos, your pupils get really small and they come together like you're looking down a tiny little tube. So now you can't see his body language, that smirk. That's why I got to see the smirk on my last narc, because I'm wide open. I'm a very internal being. When your awareness is internal, it opens that artery. That's consciousness. When that artery opens wide open, the blood fills up the larger human brain, and now you're operating on a higher level of consciousness. A narcissist doesn't want you to do that, because then you can see their games and you can see how mean they actually are, okay? So let's go on to I'm going to give you some of the tools of, well, what do we do here? So again, I want you to read the book too. So one of the things I learned in this book is, he said, most people will just disagree or argue and try to defend. Don't do that. Instead, join them and go with them. So if someone goes, man, you're kind of stupid, say, yeah, I'm kind of dumb at times, aren't I? You literally took the thunder out of their lightning. It's like Bruce Lee says, be like fog. Because if you're like a wall, someone can hit you. But if you're fog, someone could throw a rock at you like fog, it'll go right through. And that's, I can't teach it in one video. It's something I teach in person. But when you get this, you will become one of the most powerful people, probably the most powerful person you know. When you learn how to drop down inside, you're not doing this. You're not thinking hard. There's no strength. There's no flexing. It's the opposite. You completely let go of all of that. You learn how to let go of your fear and let it dissipate. You drop your awareness down inside and then you expand. Okay? There's a series of techniques that I work with people. It is a conditioning effect. But when you get there and you open up, here's what happens. The first thing will happen when you walk outside, when you're open, other people, even if they're in the reptilian brain, they open up. And they just feel good around you and they don't know why. I have people walk up to me all the time. There's something about you. It just feels so relaxed around you. I'll give you a real life example. I was walking on the gym, I was all fired up, just get a great workout, doing bench press. And I'm walking out, I walk around the corner, I'm just like, yeah, I'm a badass, right? And what I'm doing is I'm very tight here, which means the artery is like that. And my pupils are small, and I'm like this, and I'm pushing like that. And a guy came around the corner. Now, at this point, I was about 32. And, well, it was time to grow up. And he was all, you could tell he probably just took some energy pills. He was already, and he looked at me like he challenged me. And I was like, yeah, it's not worth it. And I opened up, I dropped down inside. And what happens is when two people push, it's like that, that thing you do where the trust course where two people lean together in a pyramid and you walk your legs back. What happens if one person lets go? Falls in, right? So when two dudes are doing this to each other and you're pushing on each other, what I did was I opened up and I went internal, and it's like his physical body moved forward like when I did it, like what? And he literally went like this, looked inside, he looked at me, looked back down, and he smiled. Hey, how's it going, man? Just like that. That's the power of learning how to be internal and have internal awareness. So now I'm going to give you some techniques that he teaches that's very similar. It's really the same effect. It's like Tony Robbins says in his seminar, he calls it I think it's a judo technique. Judo, I don't think it's jujitsu. Where instead of, it's Aikido. Instead of fighting force with force, you let go. So if someone throws a punch at you, like one thing I learned is you go like this, like you step aside and you grab it and you go with it. That's a very Aikido thing. It's like if someone goes to throw a punch at it, instead of stopping it and blocking it or hitting your head, you kind of move it. It's like you kind of parry it. It's like a movement like this, and you grab it, and then you can throw them with very little effort. You just go like that because they're thrown like this, and you pull it, then they get flipped over. Okay, it's the same thing. You're going with it. So if someone says you're stupid, what are you going to? No, I'm not. And then if someone goes, oh, you're kind of retarded. So here's what he would say. He'd say now he was a teacher, also professor in college. I think it was college. And he said every now and then I get students that would just challenge me. And they would say, oh, well, that was dumb or that was stupid. And one of them would say, they would say, oh, what did they say? Like, oh, you're a fag or you're gay. Or he goes, yeah, I kind of am a little bit effeminate, aren't I? Right? When I read that, I thought, oh, I get it. You literally go with it. Instead of fighting it, right, going against it, you go with whatever they say. So you say something, yeah, I guess I am kind of like that at times. Sometimes I am kind of stupid. Sometimes I'm tired and I say the dumbest things in the world. Yeah, you're right. Watch what happens when you do that. They'll be like, okay, should. Because they're waiting for an argument. When you give them an argument, then they can do the tug of war or they can do the battle with you, right? Now let's go back to what I said in a couple videos ago. Narcissist will try to get you to feel bad about yourself. They'll say things like, oh, that was mean or that was dumb. Or, you're not a good person, or they'll indirectly accuse you of being a racist or, oh, I don't know, being unfair or whatever, right? Don't disagree. Go with it. So, yeah, I guess I was kind of unfair in that moment. Yeah, I guess wearing these sunglasses does make me look kind of racist, doesn't it? Trying to think of what else. So you go with it, you agree, and then just watch what happens. Like, oh, shit. If you pay attention in an open manner, you'll realize like, that wasn't the effect I was going for. You can learn a couple little tools like this, and you'll be amazed at how much you can flip a narcissist on top of their fucking head. Not just a narcissist, but anybody. So let me see if I can think of anything else I want to add. That's all I want to really say about this book. I recommend it. He goes into a lot more in depth. In my course, I do go over these things, but I also teach you physical things you can do with your energy, with your awareness that neutralize people. It's the same effect. And so, okay, I know where I was going to go with this. So what most empaths try to do, and sort of tell them, don't do it. Don't try to convince them that you're a good person, because they're going to try to convince you that you're not. Because our whole lives as empaths, we were told that we were bad, that we were no good. Narcissists, that's what they do. Because narcissists know that we're very good people. The whole reason they're trying to make us look bad or feel bad or talk bad behind our backs is because they're jealous as fuck. They already know you're a good person. So when you try to argue, well, or not even argue, but when you try to prove, like, no, I'm good for here, and you'll do things, you give them money, you cook, you clean, you do whatever, or you tell them, no, I'm a good person, I really am. Don't do that. Stop. Okay, let me say it right now. Stop proving to people that you're a good person. Stop it. If people don't like you for who you are, walk. Leave them. That is your number one power tool. If you have to prove to people that you're a good person, they're not the kind of people you should be around. Okay. Sorry. I just want to leave it at that. It really is that simple. Either agree with them, and here's the thing. Let's say someone's directly or indirectly, they love to play the indirect game, right? Of accusing you of stuff. I would agree with him in that conversation. And if it happens more than once, I just walk. I just like, no, I'm not going to be around. Because here's the thing. Even if they're not a narcissist, they are purposely trying to make you feel bad about yourself. And anyone who's doing that is not a good person. Hey, this is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. God bless you. You're going to get some more tools, some more learnings, and you're going to get through this, okay? Go to Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. MikeKollin.com, and remember, click subscribe and you get some more tools. Bye.